Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. Today I'm going to be discussing Intel's response to AMD's 3rd gen Ryzen. And the reason why I'm doing it on this format instead of my usual one is actually because I'm currently working on benchmarks on the 5700 and 5700 XT, and I have some videos coming out with those that are going to be pretty sweet. You can't see it over here, but I do have a test bench over there. So I am working on that and didn't really have time to do a full normal video, but I had to discuss this. But before we get into that, I do want to remind you about the 100,000 subscriber giveaway. You have about 2 weeks left where you can win this grand prize RX 570, as well as a few other things. That's the thing, it's not just the RX 570, that's just the grand prize, but you do have other chances to win. So check that out in the description below. Now for today's first, and only story, because there's a ton of things we're going to be able to get from this, was originally shared by Computer Base. And it's Intel's full 10th generation desktop product stack that was leaked. You can see it's over here on Twitter, but from what I understand, this was originally leaked on a Chinese forum, so obviously it's not 100% guaranteed. But honestly, whenever I see something like the full product stack, and honestly this is the right timing, everything makes sense, it all lines up well, it looks good, this is likely the real deal. Usually whenever we get kind of a fake leak, it's usually just a part of something, and it isn't the full graph and everything else, or the full product stack. So usually when I see these are typically right, but obviously they aren't guaranteed. Though while I'm discussing it, it's going to be as if it's accurate. Just keep that in mind. But anyway, I do have it a little bit bigger right here, and obviously this bottom part is a little bit cut off, but I'm going to be discussing it, and it's just one CPU, so don't worry too much about it. But starting things off, as you can see, we still have, it's unbelievable. I kind of laughed whenever I saw this. 14 nanometer plus. I honestly thought, because after the plus, it seemed like, or even before the plus, it seemed like they were doing more, saying that it's better, but not giving it another plus. Well, they've done it. So this may actually end up just being an accurate representation, as you can see here with the pluses. Of course, check that out in the description if you want to get one of these, the 14 nanometer plus infinity mug. But regardless, they did it. 14 nanometer plus. I'm sorry, it's pretty funny to me. Obviously, there's not going to be that big of a difference, and I'm going to get to TDP in just a second to show you why it isn't really different. There's probably some slight tweaks here, but of course, this is still going to be the same architecture that we've seen since Skylake, so it's been quite a while. But the thing that I want to talk about next is actually the name, and this is kind of something else. I'm not just trying to make fun of them, but I'm really just surprised on this. Now, it is the 900 instead of 990, so I guess that kind of helps a little bit, but they also have the 320 and 350K, so I don't know. But basically, there is another digits. This is the 10,000, so they didn't do kind of like what NVIDIA did or anything like that, although they ended up adding another digit, but I really thought that they were going to kind of change everything up, but apparently not. Now, moving over to TDP, you might be a little bit excited. What? It's 95 watts and it's 2 added cores? That's pretty crazy. But there's something that Intel does that's really annoying to me whenever it comes to their TDP. If we look over here at their current 9900K, you can see it's 3.6 gigahertz base frequency, and then back over here it's 3.2. See, Intel determines their TDP based on the base frequency. So if they add more cores and then just do a lower base frequency, they'll still say, hey, now we have 10 cores on 95 watts. That's awesome. Pretty annoying, but that's what they do. You can test this by going over to the 8 core 16 thread. Ooh, 95 watts. Oh, exact same 3.6 gigahertz. Once again, just a little something that's annoying that they try to do to kind of make it look better than it really is. But don't get me wrong, there are some really good things here. For one, Intel has completely gotten rid of CPUs that don't include SMT or hyperthreading, as Intel calls it. That means there's no more 4-core, 4-thread CPUs on the i3 line, and this is, like I said, this is really impressive. Even since AMD added SMT to the Ryzen line, some of their processors don't have it, and there's really no reason for that since it's ultimately not a hardware limitation, they just have it cut off. So that's really something that I'm honestly impressed with Intel. Of course, they were forced to do it, but that's the beauty of competition, but I'll get to that in a minute as well. Moving on to the actual processors themselves, once again, this is the 10,000 series here, so you can see 10,500, so it did add another digit, as if they weren't long enough before, but anyway, I digress on that. You can see they now have a 10-core 20-thread. As far as whether I think that's going to be able to compete with AMD's 3900X, to be honest, at least in multi-threaded performance, I really don't think so. I do commend them for moving up in cores more, but this is still basically Skylake. They might be able to up it a little bit in frequency, but I doubt there's going to be any kind of real IPC difference just because this is really that same architecture, and I honestly feel like they've completely tapped it out, no matter how many pluses they put on it. Of course, I could be wrong, but I really don't think so, and still, as you can see here, well, this is the part you can't see. Their processor goes, the 10900KF goes all the way up to 5.2 gigahertz on a single core boost. Now, this is just typical boost. There is a chance that someone's going to be able to get it to around that with the normal cooler manually overclocking, although I doubt it because once again, the efficiency itself isn't really going up, so it's really just going to take way more power to get it anywhere near there, but it's still impressive. And they do have a potential all-core turbo at 4.6 gigahertz on the 10 core, and 4.8 on the 8 core. So this is pretty impressive. And if you notice, they also went up to 5.1 gigahertz on the i7. And of course, the i7 there is going to be the i9 that we have now. Now, the next thing to note, if we go over to these 10 core processors over here, you can see that they are all F processors, which means that none of them include an integrated GPU. I'm not sure if they had to do it that way just to get the thermals that they needed or potentially the space that they needed. But either way, it's here. And of course, because we are gamers, it doesn't really matter to us since most everyone's going to have a discrete GPU. And especially if you're a gamer with 10 cores, I really hope you have a discrete GPU. Moving on along, another really huge thing here, as you can see, there is a whole brand new socket, LGA 1159, which means you're pretty much definitely gonna have to get a new chipset or another new motherboard basically. So while Z370 and pretty much any other boards in the past, it's almost definitely not gonna work on it. Another thing to note is that they are offering, I do believe, slightly faster RAM at 3200 now, but all of this out of the way, the biggest thing here, if you ask me, is pricing. If you were to quickly look at this, you'd probably think, it's all the same. It's still $499, and I fully get that, but remember that they did go up 2 cores on the processors. What that means is their 8 core that was, let's see, right here, $494, is now going to be $389, and that is a significant drop in price. Is it going to be enough to really compete with 3rd gen Ryzen? I'm not sure. We're really going to have to test these, but this matters. And not only that, they even have a 6-core 12-thread CPU. Now, here it is, 6-core 12-thread, the 10600K, man, really long. But they have a 6-core 12-thread that's now $269. This is a huge step forward. Never would I have ever thought that we'd have a 4-core 8-thread Intel CPU for $129, and that is the bare minimum CPU. Remember, this used to be their i7s. So Intel has made some serious strides, and I honestly do appreciate that. Or I say appreciate that, I mean they're forced to. And this is the beauty of competition, like I said earlier. When 2 companies are fighting really, really hard for market share, they're gonna do things like this. They're gonna lower prices. I will say that if it's still a monolithic CPU, this is likely really cutting into Intel's profits just because it's a lot more expensive. The reason AMD is able to keep theirs so cheap is because they use multiple chips on a single die. But anyway, this is Comet Lake, and I do appreciate you coming for the video. Hope you liked it. I know I rambled a good bit. I kind of always do whenever I don't have a script like this. But once again, I have some really cool videos coming up with the 5700 and 5700 XT. And if you like the video, please subscribe. And as always, have a great day.